Hit me with the horns. Yep. It's the Capital City Podcast. I'm your host, Capital J, alongside my main man,
DL Glass.
And tonight we got a special guest, an international man of the wheels of steel. Goes by the name of TLUV. You say, well, who is this guy? Well, if you've been paying attention, his name has come up a few times when we talked to other people, especially from the payroll era. And if you listen to Entice episodes, she referred to him as, I think, her first DJ. Is that right?
Yeah, we did a little something early in the season when she first got started. Yep.
There it is. And he's an original resident of the Bull City of Durham. So it all comes back in North Carolina. So
right back to NC. Yep.
So without further ado, we introduce to you TLUV. Give that man some applause.
A little louder. There you go.
All right. Now, TLUV, we always start from the beginning in here.
Yes, sir.
So, well, before we get into your history, I was explaining to DL that, you DJ for a lot of people. So just quickly at the beginning of the show, tell the people some of the people that you DJ for in your career.
Wow. I was Timbalan's DJ. I was with Jagged Edge. I was with Blackstreet. I was Fantasia's DJ. I was the Youngblood tour DJ. I was Bubba Sparks tour DJ. I was also with Total. I was also Bad Boys of Comedy. P. Diddy's Bad Boys of Comedy DJ. Mr. C did it on TV, but when the tour went out, it was me and Dougie. So that's a who's who list right there. I want to shout out, of course, Entice and Omniscience. I was Omniscience and the Funky Leftover Cap. So just make sure I get everybody in there.
Oh yeah, I showed DL the Funky Leftovers video.
Okay.
I had a cameo in there. I paused on my cameo.
So yeah, I've had what some may consider a blessed career, amazing opportunities, and seen a lot of things, been a lot of places, and met a lot of people in my travels. Yep.
Okay, well let's jump right on back to the beginning. We always start from the inception of your love of this music. Okay. Tell me first how you got involved in DJing. Well,
truth be told, DJing was not even on my radar when I was in high school. I was more of an MC. And a lot of people in history of North Carolina, I was a rapper. I had another friend in Durham was a rapper, and our DJ was a guy named DJ Petro, who y'all may heard of in the Durham area. We were actually the first rap group ever to do a record in North Carolina. A lot of people don't know that. But when I got to A&T, Troll was the DJ, and we were roommates. We were best friends. So I was always willing. Well, even in high school, I would go play on his turntable. But I was an MC. But what ended up happening is we would get parties. At A&T, you do the fraternity and sorority parties or the SJ parties and Cap. You remember them days when you was over at UNCG doing those things. And so I would open up for him. So it was pretty much that way I made my little $25, which was a lot of money back then in the early to mid 80s. To open up for him, and it just grew on, just grew me just liking, what was doing, but what really kind of turned the wheels for me, and again, I didn't really look at DJing as something that I was, being a career. We got asked to work at 90.1 WNAA, which is the station over at A&T, by a good friend of ours, Bushman. The Bushman is right now one of the top radio jocks in Detroit and been up there for years. And what happened, the guy that was there.
Hey, hold on. You've already enlightened me to a bunch of things I didn't know. Okay, so let's rewind for a second.
Okay.
Because, I used to come visit Greensboro back in the day. I listened to 90.1. And later, I didn't know who I was listening to, but my man B. Chill was like, that was probably DJ Petro. So You guys were friends from Durham already.
Yeah, we grew up together. We were friends, yep.
And I remember Bushman at 102, but I had no idea that Bushman was an A&T alumni from WNA.
Yeah, but you got to remember, pretty much everybody that came out of 102 Jams came from NAA. Mad Hatter, Bushman, Grand Charlie, Graham, Dillard, who's up in New York, who's a PD in New York. Of course, Cherie, rest in peace. Who else was over at NAA? I'm missing some names, but a lot of us that went out into the radio world started at NAA. That's where we all met. So it was sort of that little family right there who went out and, I guess, spread their wings, our wings in the radio. So, but before I got to NAA, there was a guy, you may be familiar when you hear the name of Texas Pete. And Texas Pete had the show. He actually created the show, The Full Moon Block Party. And Texas Pete got caught smoking weed on at the station. The program director came up one night because the Full Moon Block Party was midnight to 3. And he got caught smoking weed, so he got fired. And at the time, me and Patrol was the popular DJs on campus. So Bushman asked us would we be interested in doing radio. And I said, nah, I don't want to do radio. Patrol said the same thing. We was excited about, when you're doing the parties in the gym or at the block parties in front of the caf, everybody can see you, girls, all that. It had more. To me, it had more feeling to be, personal to person, face to face, high fiving, handshaking, neck hugging, whatever the case may be. So he actually convinced us to do it. So when we first, and I still got the cassette tape of our very first night. When we did it, I was actually the MC and Petro was the DJ. So that's how that started. Right. So I was actually the MC. So we was on there, and if you know anything about the history of Petro, he was arguably one of the baddest DJs in Durham. He was a monster on the turntables, skill-wise. So we killing it. Texas Pete really wasn't a skillful DJ. At the time, he was playing good music, if that makes sense. So,
right.
So what ended up happening was he graduated a semester before I did and left Greensboro, and I ended up taking over the show.
And what year was that you took it over for yourself?
90, late 90. Yeah.
Well, that was the year that I got to college in 1990.
Yep.
And
so by the time.
Just to as a refresher, when I first got to Greensboro, the first party I went to was at the Depot, and you were the first DJ that I heard in Greensboro.
Wow.
Live.
See, there you go giving me something I didn't know.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you the truth. After that night, like I had DJ'd around Tarboro and whatnot, but after that night, I got home, I said, man, I got to step my game up. These dudes up here be killing
it. Wow.
And
I appreciate that.
Here goes another tidbit. You played Bonita Applebum remix at the Depot that night, and I had never heard that version before. And at the time, I was on WUAG, UNCG's radio station. And I actually quit because I was like, hey, man, ain't nobody listening to this. K-Nice is on 102, Polo's on 97, TLUV's on 90.1. I mean, there are no more listeners left. We got all the 10 watts here. But I walked up to the DJ booth. I was like, yo, man, I never heard that version. You showed me the record. You were like, yeah, man, it's a remix on the flip side. You got to get the single. I was like, oh.
Wow. Yeah. Cap remember some things, brother. You know what I'm saying? If he had asked me to tell that story, I'd be stuck. I wouldn't know what to say. But so NAA really was the birth of DJ TLUV because I had to take over the show and by myself, so I had to become the MC and the host. And Cap, if you remember NAA, especially the old studio, there was no mixer in the control room. So I just had 2 turntables and the radio board.
Yeah, that's how it was at G2.
Right. So, I'm sitting there and just using my right hand because both turntables are on the right side. But what I think, like you said, Polo was at Power 97 at the time. K-Nice was at 102 Jams at the time. They were on from 10 to 2, both of them. I was on from 12 to 3. So you either had enough of them when I got on, but when they got off at 2 o'clock, I had the airways to myself from 2 to 3 o'clock, which is prime time because people was just getting out of the clubs right about that time.
Right.
So that made the show huge because now you're in the car going to go get you something to eat. You know, everybody hanging out in the streets and stuff. By that time, and everybody's tuning in to me for that last hour.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it kind of gave me, as far as my name, that's where I think the joke of electricity as far as DJ TLUV name. And it just, it just took off from there as far as my reputation in Greensboro. I started getting parties. And again, K, big shouts out to K Nice, big shouts out to Polo. They were the big boys, the big dogs, because they were at the bigger station. So, I was stayed at NA, did the Full Moon Block Party, the mix show, and it was Friday and Saturday night. I did that for about a year and a half, and then I wanted to become more rounded in radio. So I gave up the Full Moon Block Party and started doing afternoons to become a better radio job.
Around what time? Around what year was that?
This would be 92.
Okay.
90, late 91, 92. And I was there. I was doing afternoons for about a year, and then your good buddy over 102 Jams, Brian Douglas, called me. And I don't want to get too winded with this, but this is where I think K had one of his biggest issues with me. But what K Nice didn't know is at the time K Nice was over at 102, Brian Douglas called me over 102, and back then, Cap, that was it. If you can get on 102, brother, you've made it to the stars, right?
Oh, don't I know?
Right. So he called me over there to do overnight. And I was like, cool, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I was doing overnights. And for those who don't know what that is, that's midnight to 6. And so I'm doing overnights and able to do my parties on the weekends to make my little money. So I'm good. I'm on the air 4 or 5 days, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, whatever, overnights in the mix show. Then Brian got upset with K Nice and came to me and asked me would I do the mix show. I thought he was asking me to sit in, but he wanted to fire K. And at the time, K had, it was K and whoever the host was. But Brian got wind that I used to do a mix show and did both by myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, Brian, I said, I don't want to take the show. If the show was available, that's one thing. But I don't want to say, I take the show and you fire, and I'd be the reason to fire K. And I don't think K ever heard this story. And so what Brian Douglas did to me was he took me off overnights. Right. So he took me off overnights. So because I wouldn't do the mix show. And I didn't want to do the mix show because I was making my money doing parties on Fridays and Saturdays. You know what I'm saying? It didn't make sense for me to do a mix show. And I mean, it just squeezed me. He would let me do, I think I had Sundays.
Yeah, it's hard to give up Friday and Saturday night.
Right. So, I mean, he was determined he was on 5K anyway. And that got back to me that he let K go, and he asked me again. I said, well, I'd take the job. Then he paid me half what he paid K. And I had to be my own host. But it got me on 102 Jams. So, of course, when you get to 102 Jams, and then you're on top of the mountain, the market. And that's pretty much the name that we had, the DJ thing kind of started for me as getting better, wanting to be better, knowing I have a better choice words, the world listening to me, or our world, you know what I'm saying, listening to me. So I knew I had to become sharper as a mixer as well as do parties. And of course, if you're 102, you get the parties, you get the name, your name's on the radio all the time, you ride around in the van, all the little perks that come with it. So that kind of blew my name up as far as how TLUV in the market happened. Now, as far as... Go ahead.
Well, I got a question because at the end just now you kind of answered it, but I wanted you to go a little bit deeper because you say you knew you had to basically grow as a DJ and get sharper. Like how did that transition happen? How did you work at getting sharper?
Well, I listening to K and Polo and what they were doing in comparison to what I was doing. Number one.
Okay.
I was it was important that, well, listening at that point, because Polo was still at 97, Power 97, 102 hadn't bought them yet. But it was important to not be arrogant in my mind because I was on 102 and I knew everybody would be shooting for that spot. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So it was just important to get better, listen to other DJs. And, sometimes I would copy things they were doing or make up my own version of it, you know what I'm saying? And that's just being transparent. We all did it. We all took something from somebody at one point in time, whether it was a mix or something that we heard. But I just wanted to, I just knew everybody was going to come after me, or it would be a lot of criticism. Because you don't have a lot of margin of error on the radio. When you jacking it up, the world knows. You jack up at the party.
Just the people at the party heard it, right?
Yeah. Right. But when you jack up on the radio, you don't know who's listening. That be so broad, and your reputation can easily become, you know what I'm saying. So I just made it my business that you got to know this is pre-social media.
Yes.
This is it was pre-cell phone, I think, right before, you know what I'm saying. So, it was just very important. It was very important for me to make sure that I kept my skills up and just got, good. Cause like I said, Polo was good. But shouts out to Tommy G and Winston-Salem. I don't want to miss anybody from a skill standpoint. It was a few DJs. And then when I started doing parties, got introduced to Adolph, which was Michael Jordan's best friend. I started doing all the big parties in Greensboro, and doing like Super Bowl parties, NBA All-Star festivals, and started doing stuff like that. I would be on stage with other DJs, and I got a chance to be on stage with Shakim and then 6 Cent, which was Russ Paul DJ. I was with I can't even think of some of the, so it was a chance for me to hear other styles and other things DJs were doing and incorporate it to what I was doing. So that was just the building up the name TLUV, and with the opportunities that presented themselves as being on the radio.
So this time period, I'm just trying to create a timeline in my head.
Okay.
I know that, like, this is what I remember. Okay, K-Nice. What year did you start mixing on jams? Was it about 94, 95-ish, 94-ish?
I was, let me say, so it was right around 93, 94.
Right. But, and then Horse and Flex come. I know me and Flex started the same year in 96.
I think
so. Something happened between there to bring Horse in.
Right. So let me tell you what happened. It was the craziest thing. So, and I even told this to Brian Douglas years ago. So what ended up happening was, because I was only making $300 every 2 weeks to sit up there on Friday and Saturday. So he's giving me $150 every 2 weeks, $600. I can't pay any bills that way, right? It's just, it's just impossible. I was able to make that per party, so now my money is cut in half.
Oh,
so
and they taxed it.
Right, and they taxed it. So, right. And then when you had to do van stuff, they would ask you to put the gas in the van and reimburse you. Crazy stuff like that. But I had a little trick for that. I'll tell you about that later. But anyway, what ended up happening was I had figured out how to put the show on VHS tape.
Oh yeah, I remember right? K-Nice used to do that too. But Brian hated that though.
Right. So because you can do long play to get the whole 4 hours.
Yeah, but Brian hated that.
But what I also did, I voiced over my breaks on reel to reel. So what happened is I had Shatoni, and at the time, part-timers was making $5 an hour at 102. So what I would do is I would have Shatoni to come in and just run straight to Tony. I would have and just run the reel to reel and the tape, and I would have written down what the out cues were. And it was real easy to set up when the last song when it fades out. hit the break, and I already had the music under the break. You know what I'm saying? And you would never known that I wasn't there. So I was able to go out Friday and Saturday and do my parties. So if you're at the parties, you don't know I'm on the radio. If you're listening to me on the radio, you ain't in the party.
Right.
Does that make sense? Right. So I was able I was able to get away with that for about 2 months. How I got caught was Tony was signing the timesheet. So he's like, well, why is Tony signing timesheets from 10 to 2? And she didn't know not to tell him. If I was thinking, I would have given her the $20. Remember, it's $5.
Right. Just go on and pay her flat out.
I would have paid the $20 out of my pocket and given it to him. That's what Polo ended up doing when he started pre-recording. When he started saying, you know what, that's good. When I told him, he was at 97, so what he would do is pay the person out of his pocket to go do his parties and voice tracks. So Brian fired me, he suspended me for 2 weeks for doing that. And that's when Horse did the show for 2 weeks. And Brian said, when he suspended me, don't come up to the station for 2 weeks. And I said, all right. So the last week, the end going into the weekend, that Friday was payday. You remember back then, part-timers, they would tape your checks.
Yeah, the tape would be checked. The check would be taped to the window of the studio.
To the window, right.
And you know, everybody's whole first name and last name, middle name.
Right, everything, right. So I go up there to get my check, and he said, I thought I told you not to come up here. And he fired me.
Damn.
Right there.
And so what's your opinion on Brian Douglas?
My opinion, let me start with, in all due respect, he gave me an opportunity. So I'm always grateful and thankful for that aspect. But that's about as far as I can go with him. There's nothing about him that I can sit there and say, well, I learned what not to do as a person if I ever got in position of a PD, and I understood he was running the ranch. You know what I'm saying? But I have no respect for him as anything that he did at 102 because it was hand given to him.
Right.
And again, I don't want to make this a racist thing, but he was a white man running a black station, and he knew if we didn't want to do the job, it was a line out the door, again, figure of speech, of people who would for the bare minimum. People would have come to work 102 for free just to say they was going with 102.
Right.
Oh, and he treated people, certain people like that. It was only a handful. Buster was one that he didn't, and maybe a handful few, but he treated it like a plantation without necessarily calling us slaves, because we all had choices. Slaves didn't have choices. We all had choices. We want to stay and deal with that. I remember so many days people would be at the station complaining about not being able to pay their bills, wouldn't even go get a job.
Right.
They didn't want to do that because they didn't want to lose the title.
The notoriety.
Yeah. So they rather suffer. And, you know what I'm saying? And I was into that. You know what I mean? I knew I had bills and responsibilities to take care of.
Right.
So
it got tough on that morning show too, like that. Right. I was like, good gracious.
Right.
You said it was hand given to him. Like when I found out that it was a white guy, I had to ask him.
He was on the podcast about 2 years ago.
Yeah, like how in the hell did that happen? This white guy. Well, he was a white boy then because he was a lot younger, from Florida or whatever, come to be the program director at a hip hop station.
Right. Well, because it's white owned. If you think about it.
Yeah.
And it originally wasn't a hip hop station.
Right.
It was a rhythmic station.
But he came to transform it into a hip hop station.
Right. So that's why I give Brian the credit of just having the sense to program hip hop during the day.
Right.
Right. He saw the writing on the wall. Yeah, it's something that any one of us would have done, but nobody was doing it.
And at the time that he did it, like hip hop was still fairly new.
Yeah, but there were black PDs across the country. I mean, this is the structure. And again, I'm not knocking him for it. He did exactly what he was supposed to do in that situation. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? My problem with him is always the way he treated people. And, you know, he would tell you at $5 an hour now, he would tell you they didn't have any more money in the budget to pay anything. That's an insult. That was about as close as this. and spitting in my face. I'd rather for him to say, I'm not giving you anything, to say this multi-billion-dollar company can't give me anything. You know what I'm saying? So it's things like that. But I was the type of person, I would buck up against that because I would say, man, you lying. Y'all got it. You just don't want to give it to me, which would have got me fired. You get what I'm saying? So I just, that's why I said, Brian, I appreciate the opportunity that he gave me, but that's about as far as me personally. I don't hate the man. I don't have no ill feelings for the man.
It's funny. It's funny you brought it up because there was a period of time where I was that guy for a little while. I wasn't happy with the pay and all of this, and then they started giving us the sponsorship money where somebody sponsor your show, you get paid. And I remember one time during the meeting, we were having a meeting, and he's like, any questions? I was like, yeah. How come it's taking so long to get this sponsorship money into my hands? You know what I'm saying? And then everybody in the room is like yeah. After that, Brian pulled me to the side. He was like, hey, Cap,
don't do it again.
He's like, you see how everything was about to end on a positive note?
Right. Don't do it again.
It's just that's what I'm saying.
So I was a rabble rouser for a little while there, and and I went through a moment where I was doing all this stuff, all this extra stuff, wasn't getting anything for it, and I had my little period. I had a couple of weeks off too, just from being But at the end of the day, me and Brian cool.
Hey, I got a question.
Again, we cool with that.
Since Cat was reminiscing on his 102 days, have you heard why they fired him?
Fired Brian?
No, Cap.
I remember when let me say this. Anybody that got fired, if they was a mixed DJ or any real essence at 102, I remember being told that why or remember, the circumstance. Of course, that was so long ago, I don't. Right. But it wasn't too many things that was going on because I was still in so many, although I was on 102, I was still sort of considered that guy. So, you know what I mean? So anything that was moving and shaking, I would have been informed or somebody would have told me, I would have heard, but I don't remember what Cap did. Which do Cap?
No, I still don't know.
Yeah, that's why I always ask.
But
I ask every personality that has been up here for 102. That's my question.
But okay, moving past the jams days. Okay. After jams, like next thing I know, you always out of town. So how did the first gig happen for you that took you on the direction of becoming a traveling DJ like that?
Okay, so in Greensboro, there was a guy, Cap, you may be familiar, named Sean Bonner. Sean Bonner was a bodyguard for some of the major, the biggest groups in the world. He was New Kids on the Block bodyguard when they were the biggest group in the world. I used to, when I would do parties, I would hook Sean up with the clubs and get him gigs. He wanted to work, and he would always say to me, T-Love, man, I always appreciate you looking out for me, man. When I make it, I'm gonna look out for you. Now you take that generosity and that and be like, okay, great, cool, and then you just keep it moving. You don't, you're not sitting back waiting for that phone call.
Treat it like Hollywood.
Right. And I remember a time where I didn't remember seeing Sean nowhere. I didn't know where he was. But come to find out, he was out with New Kids on the Block. And after he left New Kids on the Block, he was out with Rob Bass when It Takes Two, and I think with Missy at the time. Between the three of them. When I heard that, I was like, wow, I was proud of him, right?
Right.
And I hadn't talked to him again. So one night, I went to a boxing match in Greensboro, and he was there. And I saw him, and I said, yo, Sean, what's up, man? I said, Sean, what you doing? I heard you, da-da-da. He said, yeah, man. I said, well, who you with now? He said, Total. And I said, wow. I said, great. He said, T-Love, I promise you, didn't I? I said, yeah. He said, listen, they just fired their DJ. And I said, for real? I said, yeah. He said, listen, I want you to do me a favor. They're going to be in Norfolk, Virginia, on this date that I need you to drive up there and introduce to the girls because they don't have a DJ. I said, all right, cool. So I get my car that morning and drive to Norfolk. He told me where to meet him. I get to the hotel, and I'm sitting there, and they come in, and I get up, and he introduced me to them, and they going about their business. And then later that night, and I'm just sitting around like, this is kind of corny, but I'm sitting around. He'll say something like, "Look, I'm gonna holler at you a little later. Just hang around." I'm like, I'm saying myself, hang around where? I don't know any place in Virginia Beach in Norfolk. So I'm just sitting in my car. I would go go get me something to eat and sit in the hotel parking lot because I knew nobody would bother you in a hotel parking lot. They don't know if to stay there, whatever. So then he said, "Well, I never forget it. He said, come to IHOP on this street, so-and-so street. And remember, there's no navigation, so you got to figure it out back then. So you got to figure it out." So I get there before they get there, and I'm sitting there, and he comes in. He said, "Everybody's going to be in the back room. Go sit back there. You'll be cool." So I sit back there. Here come Missy walking in with her crew. Here come Timbalan walking in with her crew. And then Sean comes in with Pam, Keem, and Keisha with Total. And Sean looks and said, "Hey, y'all remember TLUV earlier?" They say, "Hey, TLUV." Then they went into their little circle where all the stars go. They sitting there and they laugh and joke. I'm just sitting there looking crazy. And I'm like, where's this going? He ain't introduced me in the way, so like he's looking to get the DJ job. It ain't nothing. So I don't know how this works now. So I've never been in this type situation. So I sat there I don't think I had money to eat. I had maybe enough money to get gas, get back home. So after about 2 hours of sleep, it's 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Now I ain't got no hotel to stay in, nothing. It's 4 hours by beach, 4.5 hours. So he comes up to me. He said, "Look, man, we get ready to head back to the hotel. I'll call you tomorrow." And I said, "Huh?" He said, "Yeah, I'll call you tomorrow. I talk to you." And I'm thinking to myself, what? Like, this is it? So, that was, so I said, I could, what more could I say? So I get in my car and I bob and weave all the way back to Greensboro. And I'm like, I don't think I ever want any parts of this. So here we go. And then we're going to get to answer your question, Cap. He called me 2 days before my birthday and says, which is, it's funny, my birthday is Tuesday coming up, so he called and said, "Listen, the girls are doing the show PGC. That was their Super Jam in DC. They got a show up in DC, man. You need to come up here and and I hollered at the girls, and I see if and I was like, with Sean, I was just, he said, "T, it's about timing. It wasn't the right time. They sitting there, they drinking, they smoking, they with, the people around, they know if I said something to them, it won't gonna stick." And I got that now that he told me that. That made sense.
Right.
So I get up, I swear to you, I get up on my birthday and I look outside and it's starting to snow. And I said, I ain't driving out there. I ain't driving DC. I ain't forget it. And I laid there and something said, "Get your tail up and go." So I get up, I go warm the car, go in the house, do whatever I do. I get in the car, I pull out, and then I back up. I said, "Let me grab the turntables and records." And I threw them in there in the crates, turntables, and I go to DC. I get to the hotel, and I'm there. They hadn't gotten it yet. I'm sitting in the hotel, and I'm starting to see all these artists come in because it was the radio show. And then I look up, and here comes Sean and Pam Kim. So I get up, and Sean say, "Hey, y'all remember TLUV?" They say, "Hey, TLUV, remember you?" And they go to the desk to check in. Sean looks at me and give me the finger come in and point at their luggage. So I get it. He's trying to get me to take their luggage. I'm saying, I know I didn't come to get no luggage. So what happens, I get that, I pick up their luggage. They say, "Oh, thank you." And it's just us on the elevator. Sean wouldn't let nobody else sit on the elevator. And Cap, you know how big Sean is, how crazy he could be.
Yeah. Ain't nobody getting on the elevator.
It's me, Pam, Keisha, Kim, and Sean. And we're in the elevator. I think we had to go maybe to the 15th floor. And they were cussing like, "I can't believe this mother stole out this and that." And Sean looked at me like, "Don't you say a word." I'm trying to get the information, but I'm trying to be cool. So I'm looking straight ahead. And they going off. So I helped them get their bags into their rooms and stuff like that. And I said, "Sean," who was walking downstairs, I said, "What happened?" They said they caught the manager stealing. And they fired him last night. I'm like, wow. So he said, "So, but keep that quiet." And he said, "Well, look, I'm going to go in my room, take a shower. I'm going to holler at you in a little bit." And I'm like, "Man, what?" He said, "Just wait in the lobby." So I'm sitting in the lobby 2 hours, seeing everybody go through the lobby, crowded. Got the groupies starting to sneak in. Well, Pam, Keem, and Keisha realized that the manager kept their debts to the show. They DAT, everybody used to do shows off the DAT. They didn't have no music.
You didn't have records in the car, did you?
I had the records.
Hey!
Records in the car. Ain't that crazy how that worked out? So Sean came to me and said they trying to figure out how to do the show now because what's your name kept that. I said, well, Sean, I got all the records in the car. He said, you do? I said, yeah. He said, hold on. He went back upstairs and came back and said, you told us DJ tonight.
Wow.
I said, what? This is the MCI Center, y'all. This is the MCI Center. And I've never done anything with them. So I said, okay. And then he says, you got to go to sound check. I said, are they going? They said, nah, they don't feel like going. I was like, well, how am I going to sound check for them? You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to figure this out. So I go, I said, okay. I go on stage. It looked like I'm supposed to know what I'm doing. I'm play the record, make sure the monitors, I check the 3 mics and check my mic. And, that was it. I can't sing. The guy said, you going, the volume's right. I said, yeah, everything's cool. They don't need a doctor. I'm making up excuses. I'm looking crazy, trying to look like I know something when I don't, you know what I'm saying? So I go back to the hotel and Sean comes back downstairs and said, we leave in 30 minutes and hand me a piece of paper. This is the order of the show. And this is what, as DJs, I'm sure Cap could probably say, this is something you always want. Coliseum, thousands of thousands, 20,000 people.
Right.
You stand, I'm saying? You wanted this. So my opportunity came when I least expected. Pants down. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, so I'm riding in, so they come down and say, hey, TLUV, you got the list? Say, yeah. And they don't look worried at all. Like, we never done a show with this guy. You know what I'm saying? But like Sean said, when that time comes, you got to be ready. So when they come, the sprinter picks us up, I'm sitting there. I'm trying not to look like I'm a piss on myself and nervous, and I'm trying to play in my head how I want to do this. So we get to the Coliseum, MCI Center. We're in the dressing room and sitting there. Everybody eating food. I don't want to touch nothing, man. I'm just sitting there with one leg shaking. And then that dreadful time happened. The guy knocked on the door. All right, told your DJ needs to come on. Man, I almost threw up when you said that, man. I got up, man, and then I'm walking down the hallway and I'm looking around like, man, this is what I always wanted. And here it is, and I'm not prepared. I've never practiced anything. I get up on the stage and I look, there's 20,000 people standing around, and the house music is playing while I'm getting set up. And then the sound man looked and said, you ready? I said, give me one more minute. Put my little list on the thing here, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, all right. And then I said to myself, this is what you do every Friday and Saturday night. What are you scared of?
Right.
And I said, and right then I said, okay, you're right. So the MC from the radio station came out, yeah. Here, ladies and gentlemen, the bad girls of comedy, bad boys of hip hop, whatever, R&B, make some noise. Total the crowd. I didn't do anything. I stopped. It got quiet. And they looked at me. I said, I can't believe that Washington, D.C., is that the best y'all can do? Let's do it over again. If y'all ready for the bad girls of R&B, hip-hop and R&B, make some noise. And they got even louder, and I dropped it. Da, 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 da. It was over.
Yeah.
Dope.
And that's how it started for me. Believe it or not, that's how it started. And I became Total's DJ. But that didn't last long because they had an issue with Puffy and they ended up breaking up, So we did a few more shows together. And that was it. And but then I was in the loop. And then it went from there to Sean introducing me to Timbalan. And he told Tim I was going to be his DJ. And that's how that happened. Then I was well. So okay, after the Total, let me. I'm going Tim too fast. After Total, Sean, he when he left Total, he ended up going with Blackstreet, and he hooked up with Blackstreet. They came to Winston-Salem's homecoming, and then he was just out there doing security. And then Blackstreet's band members, not Blackstreet, not Teddy and Chauncey, David Levi, the band members went to a club in Winston-Salem. And of course, the Winston boys, they're in the club thinking they're going in the Winston boys. So Sean diffused it and everything, and Teddy hired him on the spot. So he ended up touring with Blackstreet. about a year later, he gives me a call. He said, TLUV, I got something for you. I said, what? He said, Teddy and Chauncey just kicked Dave Hollister, Levi, out. And Dave and Levi get ready to do solo projects.
Right.
And I'm going to hook you up with Levi. And I said, all right. So I'm back off to Virginia Beach. And I ended up becoming Levi's DJ, but Levi and Dave, we toured together. You know what I'm saying? We went out and did shows together. You know, of course, Dave had a great, you know, people really didn't know Levi in Blackstreet, you know, but, you know, he named Levi, you know, if you knew Blackstreet well enough, you knew who he was, but it wasn't a big thing. So I was with him for a while, and, you know, Dave's album blew up solo, so Dave was doing bigger things than, you know, we was going to small venues and stuff like little halls and stuff, but he was packing it. Then Dave's album blew up, and Levi sort of kind of went to the side. And then Sean introduced me to Timbalan, and I became Tim's DJ. So that's how with Tim, and then of course being with Tim, when I ended up moving. I was living in New York with him for a while. Then we moved to Miami for a while, and of course through those transitions, that's when I met other artists. Matter of fact, it was funny. I was in Manhattan Center with Timbaland, and where he was doing some work, and this guy was sitting there, and he was doing CeeLo, because I co-produced. I be around the CeeLo record. Tim did everybody.
I remember you telling me that story back in the day. I was wondering if you were going to get to that. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, okay. So Tim had worked out a deal, do a song for CeeLo. And so CeeLo was in the studio. They was talking about they hadn't started working on anything. And one of CeeLo guys was sitting in the lobby. I don't know if you've ever been to Manhattan Center, but we were sitting there talking. He's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, Cap. And he looks at me and said, man, you look familiar. And I said, man, you look familiar too. And he said, you know, you telling the DJ? I said, yeah. I said, you CeeLo's DJ? He said, yeah. Yeah. I said, okay. I said, what's your name? He said, DJ Bass out of Charlotte.
Okay. Right.
And I said, right. And I said, Bass in Charlotte? He said, TLUV Green. It was crazy that we sit in New York, that whole thing there. But anyway, so once they figured they were going to do a single, Tim started working on this beat and had this little go-go feel to it. I said, you think that's going to work for him? He said, you see. So I stayed in the studio with him, and he started the beat in New York at Manhattan Center. And then Missy convinced him to move to Miami, so we ended up moving to Miami, and we was a hit factor in Miami. And he couldn't figure out what to do with the record. He didn't have the drum roll.
Okay, that possibly.
I did all that. Yep.
Wow.
Huh?
No, I was just rapping along when you started. Right. Yeah, that's exactly where I drop it.
Wow.
Right. So I did that. That was me doing that. You know what I'm saying? So or going to office at the radio station. There's a stack of records where you that excitement, you know what I'm saying, to hear that and what the records are saying and what's hot and being that and knowing every lyric and all that. So I don't think the kids are any different today about what they like, although we may not agree with it. I think the content is different. The content is definitely more dangerous. But I just, and that's what I say for that. But remember, our parents thought something was wrong with the music when we was playing around them. Just like we look at our kids and say something is wrong. It's still music. And I used to tell my mom, she would have, well, this music, they doing all that cussing and all that, it don't make no sense. I said, but you played Richard Pryor on Saturday mornings when we cleaned up. He cussed. You know what I'm saying? What is SHIT from Richard Pryor or from a rapper?
Yeah,
FUCK,
right.
you see what I'm saying? So, but
yeah,
again, go ahead.
I think my take on the content is it's not like there hasn't always been some questionable content. We had Two Live Crew, NWA, yada, yada.
Right,
but we also had your Public Enemy, you had your De La, your Tribe. You had options, and it seems like the options on the mainstream are gone now.
Yes.
Right.
And it makes it a little bit harder, especially, when you have kids or you see kids. Like I tell people, when I was teaching school, I didn't realize the power that Tupac's words had until I was teaching school.
Right.
Tell them what you said, man. Tell them what you said.
Yeah. I was in class one day just trying, a couple of kids had finished their assignments. And I said, look, man, you're not doing anything. Would you read something? Like, read what? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I was like, well, here, I had a bag, and I pulled might have been a Vibe magazine or something. I said, here go an article right here, Biggie on the cover. Dude's like, F Biggie, Tupac, my G. And I was like, oh. So, in my mind, I've always been able to discern the difference between what rappers say and how I should live. And at that moment, I realized the power in what people say on a track, because I saw how seriously these kids took it. Tupac said he don't ride with Biggie, then they don't ride with Biggie because Tupac said it. And I had never been face to face with anybody so adamant,
So tell them what you said about Tupac and Donald Trump.
Tell
them what you said.
DL been on me because I on one of the podcasts I said Tupac was the Donald Trump of hip hop. At one time, things were a little bit more peaceful. He came through, and he was a divisive figure. And after Tupac, the same way like after Donald Trump, now people don't get along, and you got, people are split farther than they've ever been split in our lifetime. Right. And I saw the same thing with Tupac. The East Coast and the West Coast was split in a way that we hadn't seen before. And so, that was my stance on Tupac.
I get that. I see the parallels, and I get the analogy. Of it. It makes a lot of sense. But unfortunately, man, the influence is just it has catastrophe written on it. Because my kids come in again, they don't know none of that schoolwork, brother, but they got every curse word and every song down pat.
Right.
And I have to ask them, and I ask all the time, where do you get the curse version from? And they on YouTube, and this is what they listen to. This is what, and they come back and they regurgitate what they hear.
I used to get it from 102 Jams.
They used to get it from 102 Jams. Right.
I had to ask Brian Douglas, what was going on over there that you let them play anything? And you know what he told me?
What did he say?
He wanted to win.
Right.
He wanted to win.
He said to a particular DJ, a radio announcer, not a mix, that he didn't, and make sure I want to be quoted right, and it's based off what you're just saying, that they weren't interested in uplifting the kids. with their music. That's not. They don't sell. They don't make money.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? So
right.
again, let's go back to your first question. Why or what do I feel about Brian Douglas? You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
And trust me, it's not his responsibility, in all fairness, to uplift our kids.
Right. Right.
And it became his responsibility to feed them as much stuff that he knew was reckless. He verbally said it, to feed them the recklessness of destroying them, the fiber of who they are. He was okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
He was okay. He was okay with that.
You know what I'm saying? It was during that time that I was teaching school, that was the first time that I also became conflicted about what I was doing.
Now,
like once I saw the effect and how seriously kids took these messages, I said, "Man, I feel like I'm doing the devil's work." That's not what I wanted to do.
That led me to my next question. Will lead me to my end question. But my next question is: so, do you, in that situation, and you were conflicted, and I'm pretty sure because other DJs there were conflicted too, because we know one in particular that we talked to that had a moment. And so my question is, you as a DJ or y'all as the DJs, do y'all have some accountability to that?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. We have some accountability because, believe it or not, there's plenty of records we could play. But if you on the air, I think you're thinking popularity. You're thinking you want to keep your listeners tuned in. You want to build your brand and your name. So, so sometimes that stands in front of some your morals that you may have. Not to say you don't have any. I think it can cloud your character as far as looking at the impact.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So, again, 102 is a drug in Greensboro for anybody in the business. It's a drug. It's still a drug.
Absolutely.
You got people that, you know what I'm saying? And because it makes them feel that there's something that they're not. And even, I don't know much about Big Mo and how he's running the station, but I will say, as much as you think 102 ran 102, you were always a second away from getting thrown out that door, and Brian didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? He didn't care. You know what I'm saying? So if you started speaking against the machine, you're going to get run over. And so you either play the game or get left behind. And nobody wanted to get left behind. You wanted to attach yourself with the 102 brand.
Right.
And that was just something I personally, because I felt like TLUV, and it may have been my arrogance in so many ways, TLUV was his own brand. Yeah, 102 gave it, a shot of adrenaline to move on, but I refused to fall victim to be the hottest DJ at A&T.
Right.
If I was going to do this, I'm trying to shoot for the stars. And I mean, with a little luck and hard work, I was able to do that. But you got a lot of DJs, they just happy to, their name is on the radio, 102 Jam.
Right. Now,
you know what I'm saying?
with your extensive music background, and now that your close relationship with kids, what are your thoughts on being able to use lyrics in court cases?
Well, I talked to him about it. I said, why are you okay with that? See, what I always try to do, what I've tried to do is not make them feel bad, because it's not their fault and it's what's delivered. And I'm with kids. I'm at that building 8 hours a day. I'm with kids, let's say one particular kid, maybe an hour throughout the whole day, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So that means that's 23 hours a day, other day. What else is going on in their lives? I know I can't turn that wheel away from that. But what I can do is give them something to think about. Why would you listen to that? What do you get out of that?
Mm-hmm.
The record, I said, yeah, but they saying this, that, and you believe in killing, you believe drugs, and these things. And I try to give them plant a seed of have something for them to think about why they in taking this stuff. You know what I'm saying? If I tried to tell them how wrong they were and tried to tell them how bad it was, then I'm going to lose them.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And my goal has nothing to do with music as much as to get their character and hopefully get them in the right place of life and become respectable, honorable young men and women. So sometimes I have to use the music thing to be the connection. Like, I like the beat and all that, but all the words are crazy. What you think about the words? And let them tell me.
Mm-hmm.
And then we dissect it. But at the moment, and I'm sure Cap working in the business, the moment you make them feel bad about something, you lose them. And they don't want to hear that. I tell the teachers at school, there's no way you're going to teach a kid how we learned in the 70s, 80s. They're not going to sit and stop telling them, y'all need to get back to the old school way. For what? The old school way is not how we live. What is the old school way going to do for them now?
Right.
Not one thing. So,
well,
it's just.
I was asking about the lyrics from the standpoint of, there's a few rappers in court right now fighting for their lives because of what they said in music. And I've always thought that, because I know so many people who do music and they don't live what they rap about.
Right.
And then
I got an easy answer for that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you ready?
Yes.
So why don't they arrest people in the movies for saying the things they say? Think about that. If you got somebody playing on The Wire and he come out killing everybody on that block and all that, they don't go arrest them.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So because somebody says on record, and it's more, to me, it's more, especially these kids that's rapping, they making a lot more money than the people that's trying to arrest them. So you got a lot of jealousy, like got a lot of envy. This is how you take it from a kid, you know what I'm saying? If he said he was a murderer and he doing this, you want to hold that against him. But for those who say, where's the glory for those that are saying positive things?
Right.
You don't have, you know what I'm saying? So if you're not willing to go kill Barksdale or Omar on The Wire, go arrest them and use that against them, it's just entertainment. That's just my belief. If somebody's done something wrong, you can't use what they said on a record, and that should be that hold up, and that can be a crucial point of that case, because you hear stuff all the time.
So you're saying basically, even if it happens to align with what happened in real life, the entertainment value of the genre should not lend itself to court.
Right, because just because he said it, you still got to prove it.
Police need to do some work.
Right. If that's the case, he said he didn't say it or didn't do it, so he should be able to walk. It's not, you can't have it both ways. I'm assuming one of the people we talking about is Young Thug, if I'm correct in my reading.
He's one of the people.
Okay.
Yeah, yes.
So, he's been involved in a lot of stuff, but it's not his Young Thug's responsibility to prove what he was saying is true. That burden falls on the prosecutor. So you can't sit there and say, well, we ain't got proof that he did this, but he said that in the song.
Right.
And it's not like he said it in a conversation with a friend. This is a song. Entertainment. Right.
And that's what it is. That's why I use the example of a movie. It's entertainment, a TV show. It's entertainment. That, to me, you know what I'm saying? Now, if you ask me on the side quietly, did he do it? Probably.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. But that's besides the point.
Right.
Court is not set up
for
you to just have a feeling that it happened.
Right.
There you go.
Right.
So
that's a dope way to put it.
Yeah.
So
you just gave me an argument. I've been looking for one because I'm like, if this stupid fuck said he did it, and this is how. And then I got to think about how complex our minds work right now. That you can hear someone got shot up in their house, and you can sit there and think of a story about why and how they got shot up in their house and put it on music.
Right.
And it'll sound convincing.
It doesn't mean that that's the way it happened.
Yeah, because there's a lot of fake killers walking around out here who claim they did something just because they know the facts of it.
Right. Point taken.
Yes, sir.
Well, TLUV, man, this has been a good
yeah,
it's been good. Been good talking to you, man. Great catching up.
And it's definitely a pleasure, man. And like I said, we can do it again sometime. And brother, I still got plenty of stories out here, brother. Plenty of stories. Maybe next time we can talk about some of the stories of the artists, some of the things that I saw out there, you know what I'm saying? And not necessarily bad things, but some things that you be like, wow, you know what I mean? So,
hey, before we go, give us a moment that something that you saw that you don't think many people know that our listeners will say, what? Wow.
For real.
Give us one of those.
I don't want to let it out the bag. I tell you, I'm gonna tell you this, and this is such a curveball to which you may be anticipating to hear. But there was a very popular R&B artist, very popular R&B. Had one that had to this day had one of the biggest R&B songs ever to this day, and I learned from him how to be faithful in my relationship. Because no matter where we were around the world, he refused to break that covenant with his wife. And I mean, I've seen panties, bras, nonsense, and he hugged every neck, took every picture, kissed every cheek, every ass, and went to his room every time by himself, and was very adamant about that.
R. Kelly.
There's no tea to dish with that. So you can go on and tell us who that artist is. Who is that artist?
So, Montel Jordan.
Montel Jordan. Go ahead,
wow.
Montel.
Jordan,
that's
brother.
dope.
Montel Jordan. See, y'all was waiting for something bad, right? See, that's why I threw that curveball out there to you.
Yeah.
But I respect it, and I was out overseas a lot with him before I got married, and I respect it because I was the one that when he was turning it down, throw it my way.
Yeah, but you know what? I will say this though. Everybody that we've had this conversation with, nobody has dished any dirt on anybody. So we haven't. Right. Yeah. That question always comes with something like that is a wild moment. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't have. Don't tell that lie. I have dirt, but I would never. You know what I'm saying? But
we're not asking for dirt. We don't want. We don't want to spoil relationships. Too.
I got a couple stories. You'd be like, wow. And if they heard it, they would be mad. It's nothing like. It's hard to kind of explain it without saying it. But trust me, it was some amazing things and unbelievable things happened when I was out on the road. You know what I'm saying, for years. You know what I'm saying. But I mean, I wouldn't have traded it for the world, and not because of just the experience and the relationships that's the biggest thing I got of it. Because I always said, and I close with this, guys, no matter what coliseums I was at, no matter what countries I was at, when I was there with other artists, nobody ever came to see me. That's something to think about.
Right.
Nobody ever came to see me when I was with other artists. Now, once I got big enough and started, filling up clubs across the world because of my name, Timbalan's DJ, Jagged Edge, had all the titles to go with it. People would come to see me because I was a name. But when I was traveling with artists, always kept in mind, nobody came to that Coliseum to see me. And I left there with that.
Damn.
Thought.
Right.
That's some real shit right there.
Yeah.
That's real right there.
Right. It kept me humble.
That's what I was. Yeah, it kept your head from getting big. Yep.
It kept me humble. It definitely kept me humble, man. I always said nobody came to see me.
Wow.
Well, TLUV, man, here's the 35 years of knowing you. 34.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
Time flies.
It's definitely been a pleasure.
That's insane.
Let me do this real quick. Let me give some shouts out, especially to the hometown there out there. DJ Craze, Double J.
I talked to Craze yesterday. That's crazy.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Nabs is back home. DJ Nabs, Skaz, Digger, Kane's DJ, of course.
We're gonna have Nabs on in sometime soon. Nabs is coming. So
right, that I got some great, amazing stories of Nabs. That again, it's three people that influenced my DJing style, and Nabs happens to be one of them. He had Troll was another one, P-Troll, because he was sort of the first person. And my boy Virginia Beach, DJ B.
Oh man, DJ B is incredible.
But see, I've been knowing B 30 years.
Hey, he's
25 years.
He is probably one of the best DJs I ever heard on the air. Just on the air doing this stuff live.
Crazy.
Man,
I padded
insane.
a lot of, when you talk about me getting better, I was in Virginia Beach when I heard him on the radio. I padded a lot of my skill sets from him. And he gave me a lot of respect because years ago AOL was the first thing that had internet radio mix show. AOL had a mix show. People don't. This was years ago, and they would have DJs. I got picked. B got picked, and about 10 other people across the country. But when you listen to it on the internet, they would play B mix and my mix. Then they might play somebody else, and you could tell the difference. So you would hear me and B mix back to back after every one or two DJs because the disparity was so. You know what I mean? It was just so big. But those three people really influenced my DJ career. There's other people that contributed, but as far as the shaping of DJ TLUV, Nabs, B, and Troll. So I just want to shout them out, as well as all the Durham DJs, all the Raleigh Durham DJs out, man. Just my brothers out there, man, and I appreciate all of them from day one to now. G-Mac, somebody who introduced me to the hip hop world when he moved down from New York in Durham. So I just want to thank them, man. I'm more grateful and thankful for those who played a part of my career than I am for those that paid me.
Hey, well, we appreciate you spending this time, man.
Absolutely,
yes,
absolutely.
Sir.
Hey, that was world famous DJ TLUV. This is the Capital City Podcast. I'm your host, Capital J, alongside my main man,
DL Glass.
And you can find us anywhere you get your podcast. We're on all streaming platforms. Capital City Podcast. We out here.